Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. The Honorable Mamita Lesmiati Khashab, SSMPD, as a lecturer of a guide for paper writing. I would like to introduce myself. My name is Nur Hariza. My number is 0142S1 C019053. First of all, let's pray and thanks as our God Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, who has been giving us some mercies and blessing. Secondly, my peace and salutation always be given to our Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, who has guided us from darkness to the brightness. In this occasion, I would like to present my proposal defense. So here the title of my proposal defense is an analysis of student error on listening ability using dictation as a testing device. Here I make conclusion from my proposal defense. There are 3 chapters. The chapter 1, there are background of study, research question, research objective, and research benefits. And the chapter 2, there are definition of listening and definition of dictation. And the chapter 3 is a methodology. There are research design, research participant, research instrument, and the last is methods of collecting data. So we go to the first chapter. The first chapter is a research of background. Why is English important? Because English has become an international language. Because of that, in Indonesia, English is taught in beginning of kindergarten in order that the students are familiar with English and can use and communicate English as well. And English has 4 important skills. The first is speaking, listening, writing, and reading. In this study, I will choose one of a skill. The skill is listening. Listening is the ability that is used the most frequently in daily life. According to Hornby, listening comes from a verb to listen, which means to make an effort to hear somebody or something. From the definition, I conclude that listening is figuring out what is in the speaker's mind with active and conscious attention. There are many ways to teach listening. One of them is by using dictation. Using dictation as a testing device of listening is effective since dictation can check the students' proficiency of English spelling through their listening skills. Dictation is a technique used in language teaching and testing in which text is read aloud to students. For example, pronunciation of English words are not spelled the way they are pronounced. It's different. But in Indonesia, we will not find any difficulty in pronouncing or writing down because the letter and the spelling or the sound is the same way. Next is research question. The research question of this study is how is the student's ability on listening by dictation technique? And what are the errors that students usually do in listening tests? Next is research objectives. In this study, the research objective in this study is to find students' ability on listening by using dictation technique and also identify the errors of students' ability on listening using dictation. And next is research benefits. The significance of this study is beneficial to students. For students is to motivate the student in listening activity using dictation as a testing device is possibly easy to follow. And give information of the level of students' ability on listening using dictation. And for the teacher is to find the right way by implementing the teaching listening. And for the writer is to give contribution theoretically and practically to English education department of students. The next chapter is chapter 2, description of theory. While the first is definition of listening. Petty and Johnson, 1988, has stated that listening refers to the process by which spoken language is converted to meaning in the mind. Listening is the basic ability that learners must learn when learning a new language. It is a receptive skill, which means that language learners learn new words based on what they have heard or listened. It can be said that listening is an active communication process. It plays an important part in learning. Students will be able to learn all of the information by the teacher if they have a good understanding of listening. Here are the type of listening. The first is intensive listening, selective listening, interactive listening, extensive listening, and responsive listening. Next is type of listening. According to Ross Michael, in teaching and researching listening, there are four types of listening. The first is extensive listening, selective listening, interactive listening, extensive listening, and the last is responsive listening. First is intensive listening. Intensive listening refers to listening closely, means to focus on specific words, phrase, sounds, grammatical, and pragmatic units. The second is selective listening. Listening with a specific goal in mind, such as gathering specific information to complete a task, is referred to as selective listening. And the third is interactive listening. Interactive listening refers to style of conversational interaction in which the listener takes the lead in understanding by providing feedback, asking questions, and supporting the speaker. And the fourth is extensive listening. Longer activities are the main focus of intensive listening. They could vary in duration from a few minutes to several hours. Extensive listening focus on overall understanding rather on the particular aspect. And the last is responsive listening. Responsive listening is a listen activities that give the speaker the impression that they are paying attention and comprehend what is being said. Next is a definition of dictation. Meredith 2022 that dictation is a technique used in both language teaching and language testing, in which a material is read aloud to learners with pauses during which they must try to write down as correctly as possible what they heard. Dictation is one of the techniques that not only tests students' short-term memory and knowledge of spelling vocabulary, but also their ability to understand what is spoken. They are expected to pay close attention to the paragraph dictated and write down what they listen and feel in the second language in the same time period as a response in the original language. They won't be able to guess what they need to write quickly if they can concentrate on their listening. Next is a variation of dictation. According to Nation and Jonathan Newton, the dictation is an easily prepared activity that become a part of the classroom activity. A variation of dictation an easily prepared activity that can become a part of the activity in the classroom. Nation and Newton divide the variation of dictation into 10 variations. The first is running dictation, second in one change dictation, and third is dictation of long press, fourth is guided dictation, five is dictation for mixed class, 6 is peer dictation, 7 is completion detection, and 8 perfect dictation, 9 sentence dictation, and the last is unexplored dictation. There are 10 variations of the dictation. Next is chapter 3, the methodology. First is research design. The method to be used in this study is a descriptive method. In line with Hadari Nawawi, the descriptive method is a problem solving procedure that is investigated by describing the subject or object of research at the present time based on the facts that appear as real. And for the research participant, the participant to be selected in this study is a subject where 20 grade of 8 junior high school students, including 10 female students and 10 male students. The selection of students to be research subject was carried out by purposive sampling technique, stated by Sugiono. Purposive sampling is sampling technique of data sources with a certain consideration. And for the research instrument, for this study, an instrument is important. Tinambuan said achievement is designed to indicate degrees of success in some past learning activity. And I use for the study for the research instrument is listening test, a type of supply test. And the last is methods of collecting data. The data analysis that the researchers use in this study is refers to Miles and Huberman model. There are data analysis carried of consists of three stages. First is reduction, data display, and conclusion. Reduction is reducing data. Important things to be researched in this study. The focus data in search of sentence dictated by the teacher, whose errors will be analyzed in the form of sentence integrity and spelling accuracy. And for the data display, for this study, using a writer error table to find out the extent to which children make mistakes and later presented in narrative form. And the last is conclusion drawing. This conclusion is drawn by researcher by first calculating the number of student errors to then describe the result in narrative form. That's all for today. It's all the presentation from me. Thank you so much for your attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.